I'm not a theist. If that means I'm an atheist, so be it. But I don't like to label myself. I'm a seeker of truth. Always have been. So, when I discovered the Bible to be full of myths, legends, inconsistencies, contradictions, and lies, I was done. I know Christians like to think that when we leave Christianity, it's because we're angry at their God, we've been hurt, or, we just want to sin. But none of that had anything to do with my leaving. Emotions played no part in my being a Christian, and emotional issues had nothing to do with my leaving. I'm not saying I didn't feel any emotion. I did. I loved Jesus and Yahweh, despite the fact that neither was very lovable. But truth trumps emotion. According to the Bible, our hearts are deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. I knew that how I felt or what I believed meant nothing with regard to what was true. So when I gave up Christianity, I had no internal struggle, and I never looked back. Suddenly, the God of Israel was like Shemesh, the God of Moab, whom Yahweh duked it out with and, in fact, lost a battle to. But the other night, I got to thinking about death, and I asked myself whether, if I knew I was dying that night, I would return to Yahweh and beg for forgiveness and renew my servitude to Him. My answer was a resounding no. No. If I knew I was dying in the next hour, I would not bow to the fictitious God of Israel. Let me ask you something. If you thought you were dying tonight or in the next hour, would you turn to Odin? Would you be afraid of missing out on Valhalla? And do you believe in Odin because do you not believe in Odin because you've been hurt? Is it because you're angry with him? Or maybe you just want to sin? No? Well, that's how I feel about the tribal God of Israel. I'm not afraid of Yahweh just as you're not afraid of Odin. I am as confident that Yahweh doesn't exist as you and I are that Odin doesn't exist. Now, I do sometimes wonder whether there might be a God, a real one, I mean, one that is decent and has integrity itself and wants its creation to do good. Am I okay with dying without believing in that deity, if indeed it exists? Well, first of all, I don't know that deity. It hasn't presented itself to me or told me to do anything. But if there is a God, it knows my heart. It knows that I'm extremely grateful for life. It knows I therefore love, respect, and honor it, whatever it is. It knows I'm in awe of it and want to show my gratitude as long as I live. That is, if it exists. If God exists and cares what I do, I hope my life is lived in a manner that pleases it. And one of the ways I can honor that God, if indeed it's real, is not to give my allegiance to a puny little self-centered monster like Yahweh. That would be like Christians who think Yahweh is real, turning to Shemesh, whom they do not believe is real. Although, as I said, he whooped Yahweh's butt one time. And of course, that means to me that if Shemesh isn't real, then neither is Yahweh. We think about this. The Hebrews believed in multiple gods. That is absolutely presented in the Bible. I could offer plenty of passages to prove this, but I'll give only one because I plan to do a whole video on this at some point. Exodus 18:11 states, "Now I know that the Lord is greater than all gods. For in the thing wherein they dealt proudly, he was above them." If these people believed in multiple gods, whom you claim do not exist, and they did, why do you believe these same people when they say Yahweh exists? They obviously didn't know which gods were real and which weren't, if indeed any of them were. They thought Shemesh existed, and they thought Yahweh existed. You believe them regarding Yahweh, but not Shemesh. Now, how does that make sense? And please don't say these other gods were simply trees or statues or rocks. Trees, statues, and rocks don't deal proudly. They couldn't whip a real god's butt either. But back to my way of life. I'm not any better than other people. I know I'm self-centered and don't always act appropriately. I know that sometimes I feel like a pair of ragged claws scuttling across the floors of silent seas. I think we all sometimes feel that way about ourselves. Would I change my life if I had it to live over again? Well, I certainly would change some aspects and behaviors if I could go back as the person I am now. But would I make my life better than it is? Better than it's been? Who knows? I did the best I could with how I was and how life for me was at various times. But I'm not worried about being judged after I die. Which one of me will be judged anyway? The one who was 40? The one who was 70? At 40, I did things that I'd never do now. I shouldn't be judged by what that person did. And that person shouldn't be judged by who I am today. I'm older and wiser. For instance, she shouldn't have been expected to be as patient as I can be in my 70s. I don't even recognize the woman I was at 40 or at 50. I look back and I am shocked by these women. They were crazy. We sometimes see memes of old women looking in a mirror and seeing themselves as young women or girls. And the point the meme tries to make is that the old woman feels the same as the young one did. Well, that's simply not true. We are not the same person we were when we were younger. Sometimes I have vivid memories. I can put myself right back into a scene that happened 30 or 40 years ago. I know who I was then. I know how I felt. I remember that younger woman. I knew her, but she hadn't been through what I have been through. She was not me, and I am not her. Yes, I know it's she was not I, and I am not she. But that sounds weird to me, and probably you too. Every minute, we are someone different. We act as if once a person grows old enough to have a conscience, inform them when they're doing good or evil. That's the conscience they have from that point on in their life. But we know that's not true. I can look back at my life at various times and recognize now that some of my actions were mean and even cruel. But I didn't know it at the time, or I wasn't capable of being different than I was. Our conscience grows, it develops our whole life. We are always becoming. So again, which me should be judged? The one that happens to exist at the moment of my death? That's a very small part of my life or who I am or have been. And no matter what evil I might have committed in my life, I know, I know that I want truth and justice. I know that I love peace. I know that I want the best for every single person in the whole wide world. I want no one to be in pain or experience sadness or sorrow, despite how I might behave at times. Micah 6:8 says, He has showed you, O man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? But to do justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. If indeed this is what any God that exists wants, and even if it isn't, although I think it would be, I know that I want desperately, desperately to be just, to be merciful, to be humble. But I'm not going to pretend that I always act in ways that express these longings of my heart. I'm a mix of good and bad. That's just being human. And that's just what I am and all I can be. And yes, any creator that might exist knows that. By the way, the Bible says something else, and it's something I have never, as far as I recall, heard spoken from any pulpit or in any Bible class. It's Ecclesiastes 3:19 through 22. The fate of the sons of men and the fate of the beasts is the same. As is the death of one, so is the death of the other. And all have one spirit. Man is not higher than the beasts, because all is to no purpose. All go to one place. All are of the dust, and all will be turned to dust again. Who is certain that the spirit of the sons of men goes up to heaven? or that the spirit of the beast goes down to the earth. So I saw that there's nothing better for a man than for a man to have joy in his work, because that is his reward. Who will make him see what will come after him? Now, I know that some translations make this say that human spirits go upward, but that doesn't fit contextually. Nobody says, we're just like the lower animals. We have the same spirit. We all die and go to the same place. But humans go upward and lower animals go downward, except, well, who can tell us what happens when we die? That makes absolutely no sense. The whole point is that we don't know what's coming after we die. So we should enjoy this life and the work we do while we're here. I'm not worried about an afterlife. If one exists, I believe that we'll all end up in the same place. Therefore, I have great peace. I don't strive. There's no need to strive. So again, I'm not afraid of death, despite not believing in the God of Israel or worshiping him. I don't need to be afraid. Death holds no power over me. Dying? Well, that's another issue. The thought of dying is obviously sad. I don't want to leave this life. I don't want to leave my family. I want to see my children and grandchildren live their lives. I want to know all the wonderful experiences they'll have. I want to share those experiences with them. And when I think about death, that's what tortures me. Leaving behind the people I love. I know, of course, that they won't go on forever either. I won't be leaving them for long. They'll live their lives and, like me, move on out to make room for other people. That's just the way it is. Also, with regard to the act of dying, there's always the possibility that it could be painful. It could be excruciating and go on for a long, long time. I'm not good at handling pain. I haven't had a lot of it in my life, and I think I don't tolerate it as well as some people do. And this may be stupid, but I read one time that we die as we were born. If we come into the world easily, we go out easily. For myself, I hope that's true, because my mother told me that when she went into labor with me, she sent my dad out to get her niece, who lived next door, to come and help her. Daddy went out, and Mommy said that by the time he stepped back up onto our porch, I was born. So I came easily, and I hope I go easily. However I go, though, the truth is that I must go. My time will come. I may have pain, and I know I'll be overwhelmingly sad to leave my family. That is, unless I die suddenly and don't have time to know I'm dying, or I lose my mind, don't even know my family. I know Christians think we need to fight the good fight, strive for perfection, work out our own salvation, etc. But I think that's the last thing we should be doing. Fighting or struggling can't be what our life is supposed to be. Forget the fight. Forget about what, if anything, comes after life. Forget it all. Calm down and take a deep breath and be at peace. Live in the only time you know you have, the here and now. What is your passion for your life? Do that. If there is a creator, that's what it made you for. That's what it wants from you. You don't have to strive. You don't have to worry that you're not doing what you're meant to do. If you do what turns you on, you'll be doing what you're meant to do. Follow the desires of your heart. That's what any decent God would want. And death will come soon enough, and it'll take care of itself, one way or another. So I guess, as the song says, all I ask of living is to have no chains on me, and all I ask of dying is to go naturally. That's probably all any of us can hope for. Thank you all. Bye.